Hello everyone. So when I started my career initially, I solved more than 300 LeetCode problems in 6 months. I studied every data structure, memorized all the algorithms, and can solve the easy and medium problem very easily. But when I sat down for the Amazon interview, I completely messed it up. I didn't know the solution of that particular LeetCode problem. Rather, I was doing some of the great mistakes during solving the LeetCode problems. And it was not because I didn't know the solution. Rather, I was doing the LeetCode completely wrong. So after failing 8 to 10 interview and solving more than 300 problems, so what I have identified, there are some fundamentals that people are doing the mistakes. That is what I'm going to identify now. So LeetCode is not about the volume, it is about the strategy, right? So in this video, I'm going to show you how I was broke or I was not able to crack the 8 to 10 interview. After that, how I was able to successfully crack some of the big tier 1 product-based company like Amazon, JP Morgan, Bank of America, and a lot more, right? But I'm not going to give you a generic advice, right? Okay, solve and go ahead this particular pattern. So we are going to deep dive into 4 mistakes that I used to do. After solving or managing these 4 mistakes, I was able to crack all these companies, big companies. So let's understand these 4 particular framework one by one. So mistake number 1, I was solving the problem, not understanding the pattern. So now the first mistake, like I mentioned, right? So what I was treating LeetCode is like just a tick list. I was in my intention was, okay, I'll just solve 300, 400 problems. So that's why what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and solve a problem, just it is done, then I'll move into the next problem, right? So on paper, when I looked into, oh, I solved 300 problems and everything I solved more approximately accurately, right? So everything looks good in the paper. But when I got into the interview, my mind went blank. Because I was not understanding the pattern behind any particular problem. I was just solving it. I was kind of memorizing the solution instead of building a mental framework, right? And that's exactly why I stuck in the interview when the interviewer tweaked the problem a little bit. So from this particular mistake, I developed a framework which is known as the pattern fast system. So where I focused again 3 things which helped me to understand the pattern more clearly. So learning number 1 is that stop solving randomly, right? So when I say stop solving random problem, that means just take any particular pattern, right? So let's say sliding window or 2-pointer or DFS, BFS, whatever the pattern you want to take, right? Just solve 5 to 10 bunch of problem on the similar pattern, right? And don't move to the next pattern or next problem unless you understand that particular pattern very well. You can just tell that without looking into the code or even writing the code, right? And second learning is that build your own pattern library, right? As per the pattern library, create a document, right? So where you will list down, at least understand 20 to 30 patterns that exist in the DS and LeetCode first. So for each pattern, so write down, so when to use that particular pattern, right? And what is the code structure for that particular pattern, right? I mean the structure of that particular template, or create a template out of that particular pattern. And what are the common variant to that particular pattern, and note down 3 to 4 or maybe 5 problems on the same pattern, right? So next step is test your pattern recognition, not memorizing it, right? So just try to test whether you are able to identify the pattern for a specific problem or not, right? If you look into a problem in the similar line and if you are able to identify the pattern in 30 seconds, that means you really grasp that particular pattern very well. If you are not able to identify, then go back and just quickly review that particular pattern. Am I missing anything? So that is the learnings and the mistake number 1, which is the learning the pattern first approach, not the solving the problem as a checklist. Let's jump into the mistake number 2, what I was doing, and you can rectify also from my learnings. So mistake number 2 is going to be practicing alone. So it will really going to destroy mine or even your, if you're doing practicing alone, then it is going to destroy your communication skill. So when I was starting, so I will take a LeetCode question, I'll just open that particular LeetCode question and I'll just start writing the code, think it and write the code, right? So that is what is holding me back, right? So this is one of the major drawbacks people used to do. So at that time, I was thinking I'm doing good, right? So because I'm solving the problem, I am able to solve some of the problems, and when I look into the problem, so it is looking good and I'm able to write the code. But here are the truth about the technical interview. So whenever you are going for MAANG level interview, so they literally not just only testing your code, right? Whether your code is working or not, that is important for sure, but they're testing multiple other things, right? Like for example, so you asking the right clarifying question or not, right? So if you are not asking right clarifying question, meaning you will never able to solve that particular problem with all aspect, right? So that's the main thing. So asking the clarifying question. So make sure that you are asking the clarifying question, right? So that is the number 1, learning out of this particular mistake. So are you able to come up with a different edge case for that particular problem? Are you able to communicate that edge case with your interview? Are you thinking out loud Right? These are very, very important points also whenever you are going for interview. So are you getting proper help from your interview whenever needed? Right? Meaning you are communicating, asking the question and getting the feedback. And in case you are getting the feedback, based on the feedback, are you able to optimize your algorithm? Are you able to get into a better time complexity, space complexity algorithm? Are you going to get an optimal algorithm? Are you doing these things? Because I remember those days, right? So when I used to go to the interview and whenever the interviewer gave me the question, I'll start writing the code, right? So no explanation, nothing, right? So at the end, so whenever I will try to have the explain my code, I'll fumble it, right? And I'll skip most of the explanation also, right? So because I think that, okay, the interviewer are giving me question, and they will obviously know the solution. So I'll just write the code and just say that, okay, this is how it works, right, on a high level. And that's what actually killed me, right, in the interview, right? So whenever I have gone to the interview, right? So that's what I have realized and got the feedback. Now the question is that how we'll improve that, right? So now I'm going to talk about 3 points. By using these 3 points, we can improve our problem solving communication skill with the interviewer, right? So learning number 1 for the communication, never solve the problem alone. If you have any mock interview, if you can have some mock interview with your friends and or else some guidance, right? So that is great. If not, just try to create a situation like a mock interview scenario, right? For every problem, think that I'm doing a mock interview. So just explain your approach, explain your algorithm completely, and explain line by line whenever you are coding it. Just explain this line is doing this line is doing this, like that, right? So the second learning is that use the PREP framework, right? So that is what I told. This is the framework. So P stands for problem restatement. So whenever you understood the problem and all, just try to explain yourself. If you are doing a mock interview environment, explain in 1 or 2 lines what this problem is all about, right? In 1 or 2 line, right? For example, you are finding a longest common subsequence. Just explain it. Okay, this is given 2 strings, then finding the longest common subsequence between these 2 strings. And second learning is that give your reasoning, right? For example, for some problem, if you are thinking that 2 pointer is going to be the right choice, just explain, right? So this is what the reasoning. I'm thinking that 2 pointer is going to be the right choice, right? So give your reasoning to the interviewer. So once you are clear with your reasoning, just try to take an example. Explain that example how 2 pointer is going to behave for that particular problem, right? So this is the example. This is the input is given, and this is the 2 pointer or whatever the pattern or whatever the algorithm or you are thinking, apply that and get into the output. So that example is very important. And 4th point, what you can do is that P, right? Prep framework, right? So P, last P is that you can use actually pseudocode, right? Before writing your actual code, just write the pseudocode in 2 to 3 lines. Most of the time it will be fit in between 3 to 4 lines, right? So don't make it like 10 lines. So it will fit in 3 to 4 lines. Try to write that pseudocode and just explain that to the interviewer, right? Or understand by yourself and explain to the interviewer. So third learning, which is very important learning, is that either you record by yourself, like you take a camera or whatever, so you record by yourself, just try to identify your problem, or else find a partner, right? So you can just go ahead and do a mock interview with someone. You can do a mock interview with your friends, or else some seniors or whoever is already guiding or any training institute. You can go take some mock interview, right? You can also use Pramp or interviewing.io, right? So there are a lot of online platforms are available, so which you can use. Do 2 to 3 mock interview per weeks or maybe alternate weeks, right? So review your recordings or ask for the feedback from the interviewer, right? So record it, review it, get better day by day, right? So that's the formula for this particular thing. So I'll just repeat the 3 learning formula. So first is that do the never solve in silent mode, do in a mock interview mode. Second thing is that use the prep framework, right? So prep framework. Third is that do the mock interview. So if you are someone who is serious to land into tier 1 product-based company like Google, Amazon and all, right? So I have created a system or the frameworks, right? So I will put it in the description. You can just go ahead and click on that particular link and download this complete framework, which I used, right, myself to crack the different kinds of company and a lot of companies like Amazon, JP Morgan, Bank of America, and a lot of other companies. If you are an engineer, so who is serious about crack the product-based company interview at the MAANG level kind of thing, right? So then click the link below, fill out the form, book a one-to-one call with me, which is absolutely free. In that call, we'll create a personalized roadmap for you. Okay, now coming to the mistake number 3. So mistake number 3 is that I was solving a wrong difficulty level question in wrong time. Let me explain you that in details, right? So when I initially started, so I thought that, okay, let me just directly go ahead and jump into the medium and a hard level problem. And once I solve them, then I will master the LeetCode. That was my thought process initially. And that literally killed my time, right? So I will even struggle for a 1 hour, 30 minutes or something like that. And I'll Google the solution and I'll find the solution, or I'll look into the solution section in the LeetCode and I'll find the solution. I'll try to understand the solution, memorize the solution kind of thing, right? So that was not taking me anywhere, right? That was actually hurting myself, right? So I was not building my muscles, right? So not building my foundation correctly, right? So that was the wrong thing. So I was just kind of like memorizing everything, right? Or understanding a little bit and memorizing the solution, right? And spending a lot of time on the same problem and again, right? Then I discovered that that is not the right way, right? So the learning what I did is that solve the easy problem first before even jumping into the medium and hard problem, right? So let me write or tell me what is my learning out of this one. Let me divide this particular learning into 3 phases. Phase number 1. So phase number 1 is easy grind. So which is for next 1 to 2 weeks. Let's not focus on any medium or hard problem. So just focus on easy grind, right? So we'll just take the easy problem. So we'll focus on to understand the pattern out of that, and we'll make sure that we are solving the easy problem in 10 minutes, right? 10 to maximum 15 minutes. That is going to be our stand. So solve 30 to 40 easy problems within 2 weeks, right? So make sure that we are understanding the pattern and make sure that you are solving it in 10 to 15 minutes, right? So that is the thing you need to achieve in 1 to 2 weeks. If it is taking 3 weeks, that is also fine. Phase number 2, right? So now let's talk about the phase number 2 in case of learning. So which is the medium question, right? So which will take between 3 to 8 weeks, right? That can take 3 to 8 weeks. This is where you need to put your 80% of the effort, right? So solve around 100 problems, 100 to 200 problems, but don't solve the problem like I mentioned in the beginning, right? So I mean, just try to identify a pattern and make sure that you are solving 20 to 30 patterns. And out of that 20 to 30 patterns, you are maybe solving 100 to 150 problems within that next 3 to 8 weeks. And make sure that you are solving it in 25 to 30 minutes also. So phase number 3 that I tell it as like selective hard, right? So I mean, it will take maybe 2 to 3 weeks, right? But don't solve every hard problem. So that it should take your 10% of your time, right? So you can start from week 9 to 12, something like that, right? So what you will do, you will select some of the questions or the patterns which is being frequently asked and you try to solve it. And focus on those problems, hard problems, which is really teaching you a new concept. And make sure that you are not spending more than 20% of your effort, right, on this particular hard problem. So let me tell you this 80-20 rule. So 80% of this particular interview, they will ask you a medium question. So most of the time you need to focus on the medium question only, but make sure that you are starting with your first 2 to 3 weeks, you are focusing only on the easy problems, mastering the patterns, and after that you are jumping into the medium problem and spending much time of that, right? So that is known as the 80-20 rules, right? So these are the 3 phases you need to go through. Phase 1, easy, master easy, solve 30 to 40 problems. Second phase is that focus on medium problem, solve maybe 100 to 150 or 200 problems, master 20 to 30 patterns, make sure that you are solving in 20 to 25 minutes, and then jump into the hard problem, where you will just spend 20% of your time. Make sure that you are learning new things from that problem. Now coming to the mistake number 4, right, which is the final mistake, which I think I could not have done, and I could have avoided, which is the revision, right, or reviewing the problem that I have solved, right? So it really looks basics, were very important from your preparation point of view. So in this particular point, I will tell you. So most of the time we do revise, but are you doing the revision correctly? Right? So that is what we are going to talk about, right? So I'll give you a formula, right, at this particular mistake, which I am using for my personal use and my students' use, right? So you can use also in order to revise it better way. Let me tell you why it is important. Because what I was doing, I will just go to a problem, I'll just solve that. I'll spend some, let's say 30 minutes to understand that problem. And once I understand it, I'll just jump into the next problem, right? But since I'm not revisiting that problem, so I'm not mastering that pattern, so I'm not revisiting that problem, then after some times, I'll forget that particular pattern or that particular problem even. So revisiting is important. So how to do revision, right? So I created a revision system, right? So let's understand. So I'll break down into 4 points. If you master these 4 points, then it is definitely going to help you to crack any product exam. Step number 1 is known as create a review schedule, right? So I told it as 1-3-7-21 rule. So 1 means day 1, you solve the problem. Day 3, you just don't need to go back. You just need to think about that problem just in your memory, right? So in the day 3. So day 7, you just go back to that same problem and just try to see if you are able to match into that particular timing, right? For example, if it is an easy problem, are you able to solve it, or think about it in you can solve it in 10 minutes? Or if it is a medium problem, do you think that you can solve that in 20 minutes, right? So that's the thought process you will just do again in memory. If you feel that you will not, just look into the code and look into the everything, right, for that particular problem. And day number 21, you will revisit it once again. Just by looking into the problem, you should be very confident on that problem, and then you will lock that particular, right? Means if you do 4 kinds of revision, all are going in your mind only. Make sure that you are understanding the pattern, you are revisiting day 1, day 3, day 7, day 21. and you lock in the 21. So you don't need to revisit once again, right? Maybe you can do it maybe after 2 months or something like that, but not yet. So the second learning, create a deck, right? Or the notion document, right? So this is very important because whenever you are revisiting, you should have enough information somewhere captured, right? So that you can revisit and understand that particular pattern or understand your learning or recollect your learning easily. So the deck should have different columns, right? So first of all, put the problem statement, right? And then second column, maybe you can say what is the solution or how many ways you can solve that problem. Because one problem you can solve 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways. Maybe optimal solution will be 1, but maybe you can solve it in 4 ways. Second column, you can put the solution. Third column, you can put it as the time complexity and space complexity. Fourth column, time complexity, space complexity. Time complexity of each of the solution, space complexity of each of the solution, like this, right? Then you can put how much time you have taken to solve that problem. Because what is our goal? Our goal, if it is an easy problem, then we need to solve it in 10 to 15 minutes. If it is a medium problem, then we need to solve it in 20 to 25 minutes. That is our objective goal, right? That is our final goal. If you are not able to solve in that problem, then you need to revisit also that problem. So make sure that you are documenting the time, how much time you are taking in that time column. Then the last, the very important column which you will put next to that, which is the learning column, right? What are the different things you learn from that particular problem? You can learn maybe some new method, right? So let's say if you are solving in Java, you learned a new method, or you are solving in Python, you learned a new method, or you learned a new data structure, or whatever you have learned out of that. And another column you will put is the pattern, right? Which pattern do you think it is going to fit in, right? So because if you keep it like this is going to be a one-stop solution, and this you can reuse over the period of time. I hope you got this. And when you are revisiting, right, so you just need to make sure that within 30 minutes, you are just maybe revisiting 10 to 15 problem, right? It should not be like that, okay, again, I am spending 30 minutes or on each problem. Every problem should be revisited within 5 minutes maximum, right? But provided if you think that it is looking again complex, then you can spend more time. But ideally, whenever you will go for second revision or third revision, whenever you will go for the third revision, then it should be pretty quick. Meaning you should spend only 2 minutes to revise looking into this Excel or document. This is the very important step we are going, which is the third learning, which is the keeping your weak spot. Meaning, you created this document, you are revising it, revisiting it continuously, but make sure that whichever problem do you think is your weak problem. That means you are not able to solve it in stipulated time, or you think that it is looking harder to me. Make a list or make a coloring out of that. Okay, these are the problems which I need to make sure that I'm solving it again or I'm revisiting very frequently. So make sure that you are creating a weak spot link. And for this, you can use the color code, and you can also put 2 columns, right? Additional column. What went wrong and why went wrong, right? If you feel that any problem you are facing challenges multiple times, or if you are revisiting that, again you are facing this, then you just write down what went wrong, right? Whenever you come second time or first time even, what was the thing you were doing wrong, right? And why? Let's say why means like, let's say you are not able to think about any data structure. Why you were not able to come up with that data structure? Because I did not understand that problem, or I did not understand that data structure, right? So write the what and why about the wrongs, right? What went wrong? Why went wrong? So these are the 3 learnings which you can do, or you can do out of that particular mistake, how to do revisit, right? So if you revisit the problem, so then make sure that you are revisiting in a schedule. Second learning is that you make sure that you have a format or the notion document, right? So which have different columns like I talked about. And then you are also making sure that you are marking your weak spots, right? So that whenever you are revisiting, you will add that particular into the revisiting queue. So these are the 4 mistakes that killed actually my interview, although I solved 300 or more than 300 problems, right? So once I fixed this, so I was failing in 8 or 10 interview. After fixing these few points, then I got into multiple job offers, right? So I got the job offer from Amazon, JP Morgan, Bank of America, a lot of other companies as well, right? So if you are a software engineer, right, who is really serious about take your career into the next level and want to crack the product-based company interview like MAANG level, I invite you to a free one-to-one call with me, right? Where we'll sit down and create a personalized roadmap for you. Just link in the description, just click the link, and there is a form, just short form, just fill that form, and just let's create a personalized roadmap for you. And let's create your MAANG journey from here.